You ever notice how truth doesn't scream, it whispers, quiet, consistent, and yet it moves mountains? There's a shift happening in coffee shops, on campuses, in boardrooms, and in hearts. People who were never taught to look are now searching, and what they're finding, it's not chaos, it's not noise, it's peace. That's what this is about today. This is not just a religion. This is a movement of the soul, and you're going to understand why. By the end of this, your time is not wasted. In fact, you might just find what you didn't even know you were missing. I've spent decades sitting with people, listening not just to their stories, but to what they weren't saying, the silent hunger, the ache for meaning, and I've watched something remarkable unfold. Islam, often misunderstood, misrepresented, is now the fastest growing religion in the West. Why, let me take you through this with the heart, not headlines. In a world that's constantly moving, constantly loud, constantly asking for more, there's something powerful about the idea of pausing. Not once a year, not when life falls apart, but 5 intentional times a day. Islam teaches this, not as an obligation, but as a gift, a reset button built into your day. Imagine this: you're in the middle of your busy day, the stress is building, emails are flying, your mind is everywhere. And then you stop, you wash, you stand, you bow, you breathe, you remember. It's like someone pulling you out of the storm for a moment of silence, except that someone is you. You're choosing peace over pressure. You're choosing to listen instead of rush, and that stillness, it's not empty, it's full of gratitude, full of awareness, full of alignment. You stop talking to the world, and you start listening to something deeper. To the calm, to the source. It doesn't matter who you are, what your past looks like, or what mistakes you carry every time you pause for prayer. You're invited into something clean, something fresh. That kind of stillness starts to shape your day, and before you know it, it's shaping your character, your mindset, your life. You begin to realize that you're not just reacting anymore. You're choosing. You're not just surviving, you're present, because you've made space 5 times a day for your soul to breathe, and that becomes your anchor, your reset, your reminder that you are more than your job, more than your worries, more than the noise around you. You're connected to something bigger, and in that connection, you find the kind of peace this world keeps trying to sell, but never quite delivers. One of the biggest struggles people face today is not knowing who they are. We scroll, we compare, we follow trends, we wear masks just to fit in. But deep down, there's this quiet voice asking, who am I really? And that's where Islam comes in. It doesn't ask you to change into someone else. It doesn't ask you to fake anything. It reminds you you were created with purpose, with value, with intention. You don't need to chase approval from the world. You already have worth. You already belong. That truth, it's not trendy, it doesn't expire, and it doesn't depend on likes or followers. When people come into Islam, they often say it's like waking up. For the first time, they feel seen, not for their appearance, not for their status, but for their soul. It gives you a name that goes beyond your resume. It gives you an identity rooted in something real. And in a world where everything feels temporary, Islam gives you something timeless. It tells you you were created by design. You're not random, you matter. That hits deep, especially when you've been told your whole life to become someone else, to keep changing just to be accepted. What Islam offers isn't pressure, it's permission. Permission to be grounded, to know who you are and walk in that with confidence. People are drawn to that, because when you know who you are, you stop trying to prove yourself to everyone else. You stand a little taller, you walk a little lighter, and you start to live not to impress, but to express. To express what was always inside you, waiting to be remembered. There's this deep craving inside all of us to belong, to walk into a room and feel like we don't have to explain ourselves, to be welcomed without needing to earn it. But in today's world, even with all the social media, all the messaging apps, all the friend requests, people feel more alone than ever, surrounded but not seen, connected but not close. Islam changes that. When someone embraces Islam, they're not just taking on a belief, they're stepping into a family, and not a small one, a global one. Millions of people across the world who suddenly become your brothers and sisters, not by blood, but by faith. You can walk into a mosque in a city you've never been, and you'll be greeted with warmth, with peace, with a smile. No one's asking where you came from, what you do, or how much you have. The only thing that matters is that you're there. You're part of the Ummah, and that feeling of instant belonging, of unconditional welcome, it's powerful. You start to realize you don't have to do life alone. You don't have to carry everything on your own shoulders. You've got a community behind you, beside you, praying with you, standing with you. People who were once strangers become friends, and friends become family. And it doesn't stop with just being accepted. You grow together. You support each other, you show up for each other, you share meals, moments, and meaning. That kind of connection, it heals something inside, something this world made you believe didn't even exist anymore. Because real community doesn't ask for perfection. It just asks you to show up as you are, and that's where the healing begins. We live in a time where anything goes. Do what you feel, say what you want. No limits, no rules. But deep down, people are exhausted from all that freedom, because freedom without direction just leaves you lost. That's why more and more people are drawn to Islam, not because it restricts them, but because it gives them structure that makes life make sense. Islam is more than just a belief, it's a way of life. It teaches you how to carry yourself, how to treat others, how to eat, how to speak, how to live with purpose. Every action, even the small ones, suddenly have meaning. Even smiling at someone becomes a form of worship. There's beauty in that. When you wake up with a plan, with discipline, with intention, you start to feel stronger, more grounded, more in control, and Islam gives you that daily blueprint. Not to box you in, but to lift you up, to build you into the best version of yourself. And this structure, it's not about being perfect. It's about striving. It's about showing up every day with effort. You make your bed differently. You speak more kindly. You think before reacting. You move through the world with purpose, not just impulse. That shift, it's powerful. Because when you start to live with intention, you stop chasing. You stop comparing, you stop running on empty, you become more present, more focused, more alive, and people around you feel it. They see it, that calm, that clarity, that light. It's not about being controlled. It's about being in alignment. And when your life starts to align with your values, with who you were always meant to be, everything changes. You walk differently, you live with dignity. We live in a world where everything feels watered down. People say what they think others want to hear. Beliefs are edited, softened, reshaped just to fit in. But the truth doesn't change to please people. The truth stands firm, and that's what makes Islam so powerful to those who discover it. It doesn't try to impress, it doesn't beg for approval, it simply is clear, direct, unapologetic. When people come across Islam, they are often surprised by how confidently it speaks. There's no sugarcoating. No bending to trends. It tells you what's right, what's wrong, what matters, and why. And for so many, that clarity is refreshing. It cuts through the confusion. It offers answers when everything else gives opinions. Islam isn't trying to win a popularity contest. It's not chasing validation. And in a time when everything is about image and branding, that kind of certainty hits different. It feels honest. It feels solid. And that draws people in because deep down we're all tired of guessing. You start to feel safe in that clarity. You don't have to keep reinventing yourself. You don't have to wonder what's expected of you. You're not living in constant doubt. You know where you stand, you know what's real, and that truth doesn't shift with the news, the culture, or the crowd, and that's why it inspires so much confidence. Not arrogance, not ego, but quiet, steady confidence. A sense of being rooted in something that can't be shaken. Something that's not built on trends or feelings, but on timeless wisdom. And when the world feels like it's always changing, that kind of foundation is rare. And it's powerful. One of the most powerful things about Islam is how personal it is. You don't need someone else to speak for you. You don't need a title, a stage, or a fancy ritual. You just turn to your Creator wherever you are, however you feel and speak. Raw, honest, unfiltered. It's just you and the one who knows you better than anyone else ever could. In a world full of middlemen and noise, that direct connection is rare. Most of the time, we're told to go through someone else, to follow a process, to earn the right to be heard. But in Islam, that door is always open. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to show up with your heart. And when you do, something happens. You feel heard. You feel seen. You feel known in the deepest way because you're not performing. You're not trying to impress. You're just being real, and that's enough. That kind of connection doesn't just comfort you, it strengthens you. You begin to realize that you're never truly alone. No matter what you're facing, no matter who walks away, you have that anchor, that line that never breaks, that relationship that doesn't depend on what you've done, but on who you're becoming. And that changes how you carry yourself. You don't need validation from the world when you've already been seen by the one who made it. You don't need approval when you've been invited into direct conversation with the Creator of all things. That kind of access is priceless. It's powerful, and it's open to anyone, at any time, no matter where they've been. So when you hear the numbers, when you see the rise, don't just look at the surface. Listen to the hearts. This isn't just about growth. It's about awakening, a soul, deep awakening that's rewriting stories, healing hearts, and breaking open new beginnings. Maybe, just maybe, it's not a conversion. Maybe it's a homecoming. And if you're still listening, maybe it's your time too.